Pressing this.
Chickadee chuck.
You have to do it where the cameras can see it. Because that's
Big
what they
brains
link
on
up.
this guy.
I just thought it was clapping.
No, because they're linking the
I thought it was like
visual
it's
to
like
the
I
audio.
was like
You're welcome.
you know, offering. I was making an offering.
This is
to
Matt's
camera
first time.
guys.
This is Matt's first time.
Yeah,
There we go.
we actually. I don't know if we usually clap. Okay. All right, everybody ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I'm your host Matt Scott, and I'm here with my co-host Sinway Xavier.
Sinway Xavier, here I am.
Here you are, and we're here with Basil Lynch.
Basil like the herb.
Basil like the herb. And what we're talking about today is the importance of continuing to travel while you're running a business in this industry.
Yeah. It's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, we touched on in the previous podcast, that the people that actually use the gear, they develop products, they build things that are considered, as you like to say, and are actually useful to the end consumer instead of just a line item on a spreadsheet to make more
just
money.
Stuff.
Yeah.
We do, we're it's not that we're anti-stuff. We're just, I think considered is the word that I like to use.
Well, useful.
Yeah.
It's I think we're in this era where we're at the end of stuff that isn't useful, stuff that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely this thing I think that is happening amongst maybe the folks in this industry that are paying attention a little bit more, that these builds that are just excessive for the point for the purpose of being excessive.
Yeah.
It's the full bolt-ons thing. Like, oh my God, like you cannot physically bolt anything more. Like you're
Every
bolting a high lift
square
jack
inch.
onto your truck that has no place to use it, and you have 12 million LED lights on your truck, and I think that people that are sticking around, they eventually realize they don't need all of this stuff, right? There's a lot of marketing in the industry that says that they do. Anyways, with that, you have a pretty extensive travel history in North America, which is really cool. You're a surfer. You had a camper, Bruce, that a lot of people knew.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you started off as an FJ Cruiser guy.
Somehow, funny story.
Always is.
I bought the FJ Cruiser because my mom saw it in a used car lot and she thought it was cute.
That's
And
what?
then I was like,
Yay for moms.
Yeah, go mom.
Sounds
Moms
good.
are
And that
the
kinda
most
started it
amazing.
all.
Yeah.
As weird as
They're
that
kind of
is.
cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of cute,
Yeah.
I guess.
That's how I ended up with my first car, which was a 1973 Volkswagen van. My mom said, "You should buy Mark's van." And I was like, I had never considered it as my first car. And it was epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Moms are always right.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your story starts with the FJ Cruiser, kind of right around the same time that the industry starts growing.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of an Instagram following.
Mm-hmm.
You tried to be an influencer.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun. You didn't
Nah.
like it. No one likes
It's
it.
cool at times, but then, I don't know, uncool at times.
Did you post a lot of selfies with your shirt off?
Negative. It was
Oh.
mostly cool truck photos.
Oh, okay,
I
gotcha.
did like that. Well, I interned for Chris Burkhardt for a little while.
Oh, nice. Chris is
I
a great friend.
Almost took his style of photography where he always had the person on the cliff edge with the big landscape, and it was my FJ on the cliff edge with the big landscape. And it was always that. I didn't really ever have me in the photos.
Right.
But it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I traveled a lot out of it. So it was
Yeah,
cool to
yeah. Chris
Alaska and
is
all over the
great.
place.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
So you went all over kind of North America in that truck.
Pretty much, yeah. The FJ is kind of what started it all, and really that trip to Alaska is what started like the big kind of push into more of this industry, whatever this industry is called now, overlanding, four-wheel drive traveling, whatever it is. But kind of what made me fall in love with that is going up there and doing 2 months out of that thing with my brother. We slept in a rooftop tent together for 2 months. Slept all over Alaska and cruised around, and it was beautiful.
That sounds terrible to someone like me that has no siblings.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but it was cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Then Bruce enters the picture.
Correct. And that was the full-time rig.
Yeah. So Bruce was a 7.3.
Yes, sir.
Was it an extended
It
cab?
was an extended cab, short bed, so it was kind of a tidy little rig. It wasn't
Yeah,
very
yeah, it wasn't
big
that
at all.
big.
It was
Yeah.
tall. It was like 11 foot, 10 foot. It was big, whatever it was. But it was a home-built camper shell that the previous owner had built, and it was on a stock 2000, I think it was 2000, 7.3
Yeah.
diesel.
But it was cool,
was
and
rad, yeah.
and I think you turned the vehicle into a character, and you had great photos around it.
Yeah.
And I always think that Basil's garage was kind of built off the back of.
I mean, both of those rigs.
Yeah.
Because they were, I mean, I don't think I had anything done at shops on either of those rigs. It was always Home Depot parking lots. I went to CU Boulder for a year and was like wrenching on it in the campus parking lots and auto zones. And I mean, we had a ring gear blow up on the rear differential of the FJ Cruiser on the way to Alaska, and we replaced it in an AutoZone parking lot on a Saturday night and got parts and figured it out. And
That's great.
it's kind of how it all started, was just wrenching on those trucks, I guess.
Yeah.
And then that's what then has snowballed into the shop now, I guess, in a way.
So your shop is now known for, like, I'm going to use my word considered. Like, you do very considered builds. You have a lot of surfing clients.
Yes.
You have a lot of, I would say, like, in the know overland clients.
Yeah.
Guys and girls aren't necessarily coming to you to be like, bro, I want 5,000 LED lights.
Yeah, we build practical, simple, and reliable vehicles.
Yes.
Something that you can use and take home at the end of the day, and like, not going to fall apart. They're just usable.
PSR, practical, simple, and reliable. I mean
That's it.
That's a hat.
that's the backbone of anything.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's an instant tell to me when something's so overbuilt. Like, that person has attached the catalog, and it just becomes more work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it becomes maintenance. It becomes all
Yeah.
these things, and
Yeah.
that's what the first thing I noticed when I saw your builds for the first time. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy gets it. It's
Thanks.
simple. It's you know, you can tell it's reliable.
And it all comes back to travel, right? The vehicles are for travel, but also you're advising these clients based on your real world travels that you've done. And there's this stuff in the past, but the cool thing and the very important thing is that you continue to travel.
Yes.
And that's what we're here to really talk about,
Yeah.
is that to really be effective in this space, you know, you kind of said, if you're not traveling, you're just like selling parts from a spreadsheet or something. Like, you don't really know what's working. So I'd love to talk about a few of your favorite trips. Kind of Baja. Like,
But my favorite actually isn't Baja. As crazy as that sounds.
heck, what is it?
Newfoundland.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was in Bruce. And
Yeah.
That was when I was living in it full time. I just spent the summer out on the East Coast at my family's place where I grew up, and had some friends that I always traveled with, Rob and Matt, and they drove out to the East Coast with me, and we did.
How's Rob doing?
Good. They just got a dog 2 days ago.
Oh,
He's a cute little
That's
white
great.
lab. So
Sweet.
Yeah, he's stoked. We did the Trans Labrador the fall before it was paved, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, very
the last
cool.
little dirt section up there. Over to Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, PEI.
Oh, so you dropped into the north
went
north side.
Yeah, Quebec up across,
Yeah.
ferry to Newfoundland. We did like 3 weeks on Newfoundland.
Did you go to
a couple
that
weeks on Nova
Viking
Scotia.
site?
Yes, awesome.
What's that called?
I
That's
totally forget, but it's really cool.
it has like a
Yeah.
like a French name.
It's the first. It's
Yeah,
like
the
blows
land-
The Leif
whole
Erikson
Columbus.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's a spot.
Yeah. But Newfoundland's one of the best waves I've ever surfed was actually in Newfoundland. As crazy as that sounds, as much time as I spent down
Where in
Mexico.
Newfoundland, or can you not say?
Somewhere on the island.
Somewhere on the
You'll have to
island.
go find it.
Yeah.
Now, is Newfoundland Halifax, or is
No,
that a different?
that's
Nova
Nova
Scotia.
Scotia.
No, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia
right.
has sick
Yeah,
accents,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, people go from Nova Scotia, from the Fidney leaves the Fidney.
Ferry.
The ferry leaves from Sydney, Fidney. And then it's like an overnight thing, which
like
was
an
probably
8-hour
what you
ferry?
did on the way back.
Yeah.
That's what we did on E7, but then
Okay.
we shipped the trucks from
Right.
Yeah.
Newfoundland. That was the only leg I did.
We went around because that top section, the Trans Labrador, sounded really cool because it's like, I think it was a couple hundred miles of dirt. I kind of forget at this point. And
Yeah.
I remember fuel being like $14 a gallon or something like that in the middle of it. It was ridiculous, but very pretty, beautiful. One of the most remote areas I've been to.
Newfoundland is fascinating. It's a place I really want to go back to,
Yeah.
but it is so far.
Yeah.
So there's Newfoundland,
Yeah.
and you're there for 2 months. on
Yeah,
this
I
whole
think
trip?
right around there, 2 months.
Yeah.
We had a hurricane hit us in the beginning of it. That was cool. We were on the ferry and they almost couldn't dock because it was getting blown off the beach, which was sick. And yeah, it was beautiful.
Hectic.
Waves were
Yeah.
great. People were really cool. There were like awesome historical sites like the Viking landing, and the camping was really rad. There weren't there were campgrounds, but it was also kind of just pull off on the side of the road to the beach and park up, and then the locals were like coming down and offering us to shower at their house and feed us dinner and stuff. It was really, really
Wow,
cool.
that's really cool.
What time of the year were you there?
September, October, so it was right
Yeah.
kind of on the tail end of summer, and that's also why the waves were good, is we kind of timed it with East Coast hurricane season. So we were
Right.
lucky enough to get a big hurricane off the East Coast that pushed a bunch of south swell up, and it worked.
Sweet.
But yeah, so Newfoundland was rad.
So, what's your next favorite trip?
Mexico, Baja.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at this point is the go-to. It's close for us. It's why I live in San Diego. And I'm definitely not a Baja expert by any means, but I travel around there a lot to go and find waves and surf all over the place.
I keep going to San Ignacio as being my kind of.
It's
like,
rad.
I really like it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, San Ignacio is one of those spots. You know, my most recent trips to Baja have been on the Mexican 1000, and
Yeah.
San Ignacio is kind of my favorite little stopover, and good food. It's chill. The palm
Yeah.
kind of.
I
groves
always
there.
do a night
Yeah.
there, and then I love going from San Ignacio to San Juanico. That drive's so great.
it is. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a North Road end you can take or go through the mountains on a couple different routes and
Right.
stuff, and it's a cool town.
I've done it a few times, and every time I think I know where I'm going, and I end up taking a different road, and
As long as you don't end up on the salt
and I
flats, you're good.
I somehow get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
San Juanico's cool. There's a wave there. It's a fun little town. It's a changing town. It's one of the
Right.
kind of quicker changing surf spots down there. But that's one of hundreds of waves. And there's a lot more to it than just surf down there. There's we went down in January with the 4-wheel campers and Gabe at Baja Agave and did a whole natural history tour, which was rad. So it was going to see the mountains and the volcanoes and all the other stuff. And it was a really cool trip because it's not stuff that I'd usually do down there.
I feel like Baja's so big that people always try to fit too much into
Yeah.
their trips there, and it ends up just being a lot of time in the car. I'm guilty of doing that a couple times.
Yeah.
I think my next trip to Baja, there's this inevitable driving portion, right?
Yeah.
But it's like drive and then hang out,
I guess I do that a lot because I'll drive and park within a region of waves. And then I'm just jumping from point to point to point or from beach break to beach break, whatever it is. And you're only kind of moving within a couple hundred miles.
Yeah.
And then you bomb back home. And it takes you a week or two to kind of cruise around. And it works out pretty well.
Baja's very specific in its terrain, and it's
Well, yes and no. There's mountains and there's beaches and there's...
but that's what I mean.
It is Baja.
It's
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by specific in its terrain.
Yeah.
If you're doing a true Baja trip, you're driving in sand.
Yeah.
You're driving in rocks.
Yeah.
It's so varied.
Snow sometimes.
Snow sometimes, exactly.
I've never been in there with snow, but I've heard it's cool.
I've seen snow.
Yeah.
I was camped in, God, there's so many sands. San Felipe. And then,
The mountains behind it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mountains behind it. I'm in my
They go up to
Gladiator.
10,000 feet.
Yeah, they're huge. And I haven't been up there yet, but I want to. I'm in my Gladiator camper, and all of a sudden I hear like freezing rain hitting it. It's like a very distinctive sound, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, especially with surf. Sorry, I was a little far. Especially with surf, it's about getting to an uncrowded spot.
Pretty
Right.
much.
And is that a consideration when you're building a truck? Like, I want to get a little farther.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's something I tell customers all the time is like the benefit of having a capable 4-wheel drive vehicle is you go down there every time and you go to a spot, wherever, a surf spot, camp spot, whatever, there's a fine line that you see the 2-wheel drive stop at of the hard pack ends and the soft sand starts or the loose dirt or whatever it is starts. And it's nice to have a 4-wheel drive because you put it in 4-wheel drive and just motor on past them. And then you're the one that's able to park out on the white sand beach and set your chairs out and hang out and do whatever you want to do, but it definitely plays into it a lot. Yeah.
I think that there's something really to that. It's being able to get past that initial gatekeeper
Yeah.
these days, because there's a lot of people. I mean, this is a wonderful thing that there's a lot of people getting outside.
Yeah.
But if you've been around long enough to remember when camping wasn't cool or overlanding wasn't cool, it can get a little claustrophobic sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to drive all that way and put all that effort into getting somewhere, and then there's like 10 people camped there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, even one person
kind of ruins
to
it.
put it. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be a bummer when you've.
Surfing with friends can be fun, and I've
Yeah.
met a lot of really cool people down there by just like
yeah.
ended up being next to them. But I agree with you. It's also
Yeah.
nice to have spots to yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
But that's, I mean, the kind of like a lot of the places you go to across the country and down there, across the world, you can go 95% of the way there in 2-wheel drive. And it's that last little chunk that kind of separates you out to be able to go to where you really want to camp. That's where a lot of the stuff that our industry's involved with comes into play.
And I think something about Baja that's really important to touch on is having a simple build,
Yeah.
a reliable
Yeah.
build.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no parts down there. I blew a spring in Laredo one time, and I thought, well, I'm in Laredo, I'll be able to find a spring. It took me another 5 days to
Someone's going to bring it down from the
yeah,
States.
exactly, bring it in from the States.
Yeah.
So having that reliable,
Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
vehicle is important, and I think that's really impressive of your builds that you're,
Yeah.
you're not trying to sell somebody this complicated system.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, no, here's the deal.
This works. Use this, and it's
Yeah,
fun.
like what
Exactly.
is the Basil build? How do you describe that?
It's Basil.
Yeah.
Basil. God, now everybody's screwing me up, and they're like, "No, it's this. No, it's this. No, it's this." Like I've known him for 10 friggin' years. Like
You've always called me both, though, but I'm used to it. It's not you're the only one.
people call me Scott. Like
Yeah.
this is the only time that I'm going to get to call somebody by kind of the wrong name.
Yeah.
I call you Scott.
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 Yeah. So what is that?
I forgot the question.
What is the Basil build?
Oh.
like
I don't know. It really depends on the vehicle and what you want to do. It's like I guess we have some mild recipes that we use with customers, but it kind of always plays back to that practical, simple, reliable vehicle. But we build trucks for people that don't care about a tent on the roof. They don't care about a camper, and they just want a comfortable vehicle to drive them to the points. And we also build trucks for people where they have a 2,000-pound camper on the back of it that's got a sink and a stove and a bathroom and all the stuff. And it really varies, but keeping it to where it's, again, reliable and easily usable vehicles, like
practical, simple,
yeah,
reliable.
I mean, that's like the recipe in a sense.
What's the one thing that you talk people that people ask for that you talk them out of most?
Overhead lighting.
Yeah.
Lights above the windshield. Unless you're a race car with no one in front of you, or you're in perfectly clear conditions, it's useless. In my opinion, at least. Yeah.
100%. I
Anything
agree
at
100%.
headlight or grill level below, dialed. But the stuff that's over the top, you just see this moisture in the air or the dust in the air. But again, there's use cases for everything.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I
Yeah.
mean,
And amber lights.
yeah,
I like clear lights. Because
I'm
I'm
a-
an amber cover.
I'm a fan of amber lights because I'm in the snow
Yeah,
a
true.
lot,
Yeah.
and it really
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it is. I think it's having that conversation of like, how are you going to use this?
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Ford trucks and Carly suspension and four-wheel campers. That's a recipe of ours, but again, that suits what I do and what a bunch of our customers do, but we work on anything. Like, whatever comes in the door, we're happy to help out with, and it kind of, again, plays back into just reliable vehicles.
Right.
The Carly stuff's pretty good. Like I've seen some people do some crazy shit with that.
And it's very reliable that I've found.
Yeah.
We have that black flatbed Super Duty that I go down in a lot. I literally have installed the suspension and haven't touched it since. And it has gotten a couple thousand miles of me driving way too fast with a heavy camper on the back of it and zero issues. And it rides beautifully. We were doing like 60, 70 mile an hour, like on dirt roads in a flatbed camper truck down there, and it was really nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it the truck that you have here?
Yeah, the black one in
Yep.
the booth, and then I have another 7.3 now, which is cool. So,
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
seeing this.
Yes.
What's going on with that?
that is so the black truck. Me and my dad share. He kind of owns the truck. I own the camper. We've kind of been mixing and matching with it a little bit. So that sometimes I take, sometimes he takes it. The white truck is going to be me and my family's personal vehicle.
Cool.
I have the attachment to the 7.3. I love the
Yeah, it's a good
demo
motor.
diesel trucks. It's fun. I've tuned it and had fun with it a little bit too, so it's a little bit smoky
But you
now.
can with that, like
Exactly. Yeah.
Is your dad a surfer as well?
No, he grew up kind of body surfing and boogie boarding with me, but
Yeah.
he fishes. So he'll
Okay.
come down and
Perfect.
sit on the bench and fish and hang out. So yeah, the 7.3 is my family hauler. I like the idea of the simplicity of it, of not having all of the modern electronics in it. It could give you more issues than a modern diesel just because it's an old diesel, but they're not
that's a really
issues
important
that are
thing to
gonna leave you
say.
stranded.
Like,
Yeah.
there is a point when vehicles become classic cars.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
a 7.3, that is a 2000. Is it 2000?
O2.
Oh, it's 2002.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the last year they made them, right?
Yeah, it's 175,000 miles on it. They might have gone
Jeez.
03. I don't know. But it can give you issues, but they're hopefully not going to be issues that'll leave you
They're
stranded.
kind of known things, right? Like,
Yeah, and I went through and bulletproofed it all and did a trans and turbo and injectors and all the stuff you'd usually do
Yeah,
to a 7.3. But people can work on them there or anywhere because they've been around for whatever 25 plus
They don't
years.
require some kind of like specialty
Yeah.
diagnostic.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's hard to tell the customer, yeah, don't go buy that new 23 F350 that's beautiful with air conditioned seats.
Well,
and stuff,
for a
and get
lot
an
of
old
people,
diesel. It's the option.
It's not really
Yeah.
in the consideration to get something that's
Yeah.
older, you know.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be able to use both, so I get to see both sides of it, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The family trips will probably be in the very comfortable black Ford sometimes, and then sometimes they'll be in the uncomfortable older white Ford. But they're both fun. They're
You
both
can make
fun.
those trucks pretty comfortable.
Yeah, you can. I'm working on it. It's
Yeah.
getting some stuff done to it soon. Working on suspension and seats and all the fun
The
stuff.
thing that's interesting with the Ford trucks is that they're not. There were slight changes, but a lot of things can be retrofitted, which is kind of
Yeah, I'm doing the 05 up. I have to stop by Prescott and pick up that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I
So I'm
still
doing
got
that
it
axle swap. Yes. But yeah, that's a good point. The
Yeah.
Fords are kind of similar platforms across a lot of the lines.
Yeah. So I want to shift it back to travel.
Yeah.
So you're building this truck, and you're going to be a dad here soon, which is
In
amazing.
Less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a gear
excited
shift.
to have the
Yeah.
family and go. Well, my wife and I and the dog, but then
Yeah.
now plus one.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Traveling when they're young can be intimidating, but it's so easy because they
already
can't go anywhere.
Yeah, we've already got a trip planned for
Oh, it's-
November to spend
yeah.
a month down south.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna sit at one spot and turn the phones off and hang out. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
That's
It'll be
great.
epic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
intentional. So,
Yeah.
well, that was what I was going to ask. Is tell me about this trip. Like, what's the plan? Where are you going to go?
Well, just Central Pacific Coast and find a nice spot to sit at and hang out. It's kind of the whole goal with it, but we don't really know. We'll just load the truck up with food and fuel and drive down and see how long we can make it with a newborn baby.
That's epic.
Yeah.
How do you balance, because like my business, I have a Starlink.
Yeah.
I can handle everything
Yeah.
pretty easily. How do you balance that when you're on the road? Because it feels like
Yeah.
being a builder,
Yeah.
it's very hands-on.
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that feel that they just absolutely can't. Right. So how do we enable those people?
I mean, Starlink helps. Yeah. And that's been a huge game changer to be able to communicate with customers and communicate with my employees and stuff. But I think the way to do it is like awesome employees. I have a really, really good team at the shop that's able to communicate how I like to build trucks to my customers without me there, and then execute that and install everything and get it all correctly installed to
Yeah.
how I would like to do it. And then I'm still available for consulting for customers. So like on a trip like this, Jason, my main sales guy, will talk with a customer, and they kind of get to a certain point where he's like, hey, maybe you should be talking to Basil to at least get some base ground stuff established of what vehicle to pick, what camper to pick, all that
Right.
kind
We'll
of stuff.
schedule a video call.
And we'll do something
yeah.
like that, and then Jason then goes in and kind of fine tunes. All right, like you guys talked about this suspension. Now you're doing this camper and this weight leaf springs, and kind of fine tunes it all.
Right. And you've got the background with the whiteboard behind you with the scratch, you know, the thing, so you're not on a beach in Cabo.
Sometimes I think I've had conversations with customers, and I'm like open. I'm like, hey, I'm sitting in Mexico right now.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
love it because it shows them
Exactly,
using the
yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
kinda
it's
ties
actually
them all.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're trying to build a truck to, you know, drive down the beach in Baja and surfing? Okay.
I'm literally driving down
Let
the beach
me
in Baja
show
right
you
now.
what that
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's definitely a challenge to try and balance that, and it takes a lot of trust in your team to know they're going to do stuff right, and it's just taking time to get it to that point.
I also
Yeah.
hope that the customers in this space appreciate and give some grace on that, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe the Starlink drops out or this or that, or there's a call problem, but you know, not everything is always like it has to be like this purely transactional relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's being able to have the freedom to not have those transactional relationships
Yeah.
where, you know, I feel like you're probably in a position where you could go, you know, maybe I'm not the shop for you.
Oh, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
I don't try and sell people stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you don't, I'm not trying to upcharge people on getting the better suspension. If you don't need the better suspension and you want to drive like a grandma and go really slow, get the cheaper suspension. Save your money. Spend more money on fuel.
And even
Like
as like you said, mentioned earlier, lights. If you're not driving 60 miles an hour at night
just do
down a
little,
dirt road,
some
you
little
don't need
squadrons
lights.
in the bumper, something like that. Just some little light additions. You don't
Yeah.
need to have all the lights.
I just never use lights.
Well, you're not supposed to drive it dark a lot of the time.
I just
You
drink
don't
beer
need
at
to.
night.
Especially in Baja. Especially in Baja. Like
Yeah.
Baja at night's scary.
Yeah.
The only time
black
I ever had
cows.
something like sketchy happening in Baja was the one time I broke my rule and drove
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah. I'll do it on dirt if I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
There's some of the spots that I go into where I can leave our shop in San Diego at like 5, 6 a.m. and I can make it to where I want to camp and surf that same night. But the last hour or two of it kind of crossing that dusk darkness border, I'm okay with it because I know the road so well that I know where all the dips and corners and that kind of stuff are, but you still got to watch out for the cows. And
Yeah,
that's
the
where the
cows.
light's going to come into play a little bit, but still.
Yeah, it's literally the black cow
Yeah.
is the closest I've ever
Yeah.
come to death
Yeah.
is a black cow on a
Yeah.
highway in Baja.
And then you put a giant buck stop front bumper on the front of the truck, and you're still going to destroy your truck, but you might be able to drive home, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Those buck stop bumpers are actually like if I'm gonna
It's in the name.
if I'm gonna hit something
Yeah.
with a bumper,
Yeah.
I think
You're going to stop a buck
I
with
mean
it.
that's what this is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
on the front of the
Yeah.
front of the roamer. So
Yeah.
yeah, fascinating. I don't know. I'm just glad that you actually get out there and you do it still.
Yeah, it keeps, like, the spark alive, whatever you want to call it. Like it.
Well, because it's all too
Yeah.
easy to just like, okay, I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna work,
Yeah.
and then you don't really get any benefit from
Yeah.
what you do, right?
I mean, I work, but it's like work
For
for
sure.
6 months, and then you take a week or two off to go and camp and surf and travel and
Yeah.
reset, and then get back into it. But it's like it's worth it to get that week to shut the brain down and sit on the beach for a little while.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that you came back from one of your trips with that were like, I need to implement this idea into my build or my
Oh,
process?
that's a good
or...
question. I don't know. The last couple trips I've gone down, I've had pretty dialed setups. It's
Right.
usually small stuff like storage or little small things like
Right.
that of just shifting how I use my current trucks, but it hasn't been anything drastic. When I got a proper suspension underneath the truck, that was like, I finally, like that first gen Tundra I had for a while, I finally got that suspension like dialed
Yeah.
and got the driveline to be to the point where I wasn't worried about breaking it. Fuel tank size. That's probably been the most recent big thing that I preach to every single one of my customers is if there is an aftermarket fuel tank available for your vehicle that increases the range, do it. 1,000% worth it.
Yeah.
To not have that fuel range
Yeah.
anxiety,
Yeah.
especially going to remote
Yeah.
areas like that, just fuel up and then be like, cool, let's go and check this spot and this spot and this spot and just
Yeah.
bounce all around.
That's been a huge thing
Yeah.
for me with my, I've been a Land Rover owner since 1995, and I'm new to a diesel Colorado.
Yeah.
I get a 500-mile range.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like upon the other things.
It's not 180.
Yeah, it's not 180, and I don't need to worry about it breaking.
Our black Super Duty, if you're driving it appropriately, going like at like 55, 60,
Yeah.
like you should in Mexico, it's
Yeah.
almost an 800-mile range.
Yeah.
It's a 60-gallon fuel tank.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
impressive.
a really good point.
Yeah.
The range.
I love fuel range.
Yeah.
The truck that we're sitting in right now can almost go 1,000 miles if I'm
And it's
driving
a large truck.
pretty conservatively.
Yeah.
Right. Where I had kind of earlier said we're talking about driving at night, and I broke my rule. Here's the thing: the only reason I broke my rules, I needed to get fuel, and we were, I think it was Conception Bay. There's that gas station there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, the guy shut down for like an hour to eat dinner.
Yeah, they'll also shut down if it's like windy.
Yeah, or
Right.
something.
No
Yeah,
power,
yeah.
sorry.
Or-
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. This
Yeah.
this gas station's for sure going to be open. It's 4
That one's
o'clock
caught me
in
a
the
couple times.
afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, like the light's on. I already kind of pushed it. I don't want to push it much more.
Yeah.
You know, because you think the drive from like Conception Bay to, no, man, it's not Conception Bay.
Gonzaga Bay.
Gonzaga Bay. It's the
Yeah.
Gonzaga Bay
Yeah.
one.
Right.
You think the drive from Gonzaga Bay to San Felipe is like pretty short.
It's not.
It's
not, and then
actually
there's
not.
always headwinds.
Yeah.
There's always the north wind.
So I'm
coming
like,
down through
okay,
there.
like,
Yeah.
you know, like, man, no, okay, like I got to manage this. I got to get gas. And then I put an auxiliary,
Yeah.
like a long range America tank in that Gladiator. And that was great.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one in my Grenadier for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're in California,
Ah,
which makes it
yeah.
fun. A lot
So
of the-
diesel you can do.
And why I love the Ford gas engines is if you do want a gas engine, the 7.3 Godzilla in a short bed 4-door configuration on the Super Duty trucks, you can do a 60-gallon tank in.
No
They
way.
have a carb-approved gas fuel tank available for those things. That's rad.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the diesel trucks have endless options available for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
But that's literally, I think, one of the only gas extended fuel tanks that I'm aware of that's carb-approved.
Who does that?
Titan. No,
Titan.
excuse me, Transfer Flow.
Transfer Flow.
Transfer
yeah,
Flow
yeah.
dealers. Yeah, and Titan dealers. The
Yeah,
7.3
yeah.
is a Titan in it.
Yeah, I did a Titan in one of my prospectors, and it was good. At the time, you
Yeah.
couldn't adjust the distance to empty, so
Some trucks you can, some trucks
Yeah,
you can't.
you
It kinda
can
depends
now.
on,
Yeah, you can now.
Yeah, like the 7.3 I can't. I just have to kind of restart the tripodometer every single time and then kind of know what's going on. But I'm a nerd
Yeah.
and I like paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fuel range is a big thing because it doesn't really it doesn't add much weight when you don't need it, right? But when you do need it, it's a
Yeah,
big thing.
but even around town, it's like pretty convenient. Like I've been daily driving the 7.3 just because I did a bunch of engine work to it just to make sure everything's happy.
Yeah,
For like once every 3 weeks. I only drive like 30 to 40 miles a day, but it's like insane how long you can go, and then you can stretch and get a good station.
Well, and it's nice when you're traveling, even stateside, not Baja, but
Yeah.
not having
Yeah.
to stop at a gas station.
I'll be able to go home to San
Yeah,
Diego in one run almost. Like,
exactly.
Whatever it is, Monday we leave.
and you
Yeah.
can stop and
Yeah.
you can stop at other places to
Yeah.
get good food
Yeah.
instead of gas station food or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah. The last time I filled this thing up was in Cortez, Colorado, and I drove home, and now I'm here, and I didn't fill it up all the way.
Yeah.
It gets surprisingly good gas mileage, but
Yeah. Suspension's another big thing. And getting properly like rated suspension for your load and doing it correctly, and that's been huge, is being able to like build the trucks to be able to carry the weight comfortably.
because you do a lot of 4-wheel campers that with like flatbeds. I see a lot of flatbed
Yeah.
builds coming out of your shop.
Yeah, we're 4-wheel camper dealers, so we're starting to specialize more in 4-wheel campers, but it's not just 4-wheel campers. We definitely have built a little bit of a niche for ourselves of building trucks that are rated to just carry campers in general, or
Yeah.
heavy loads in the back, like a GFC with a full build out on a Tacoma, or a Ram 2500 that they want to run with a GFC in the back, whatever it is. There's lots of different
Yeah.
variations of it, but like weighted vehicles. And that's always a hard conversation to have, because everyone's like, what about the GVWR? And you're like, well, you should just get a bigger truck if you're worried about that, and then be within your GVWR, and then they don't want to do that, so then you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
It's
We're always really big advocates of staying within the design envelope of a vehicle.
yeah, it's definitely the smart decision to make.
Not
it's
everyone
hard.
does it.
But
No.
not everyone can afford to,
Well-
or like can't make the decision to upgrade to the next size vehicle, or doesn't want to. So
The thing is, like, I always use the Tacoma as this example of, right, like if there is one vehicle you're going to overload,
Yeah.
it's probably the Tacoma.
Yeah.
Like they don't
Well, yeah,
really
what is
break.
it, 800 pounds?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's
I
like
had like an
nothing.
AMG
Yeah.
wagon that had more payload
I
than
think my wife's
than a
Ford
Tacoma.
Maverick does.
Yeah, like
Right.
it's
Mavericks are sick, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard great things
It's got a
about
little
them.
GFC
Yeah.
topper on the back of it.
Yeah.
I think sick.
Your wife's
Yeah.
does? Awesome.
Yeah. She hauled like a 6-sheet of plywood home from Home Depot the other day and sent me a
dude,
photo.
the Maverick's actually really rad.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
It's
Ford
all-wheel
guy.
drive, right?
Hers is just front wheel, but you can get like a trimmer Maverick that's lifted an inch with like a limited
Tremor?
Yeah, it's sick.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, we just got the hybrid one for her, but they're cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. What's your take on that? How do you advise a customer when they're
yeah,
it,
there's no way to upgrade that sticker on the door of your truck. We're not Australia. You can't re-engineer a vehicle over here to be able to hit those higher numbers and stuff. We can do the same stuff they can do in a sense of brakes and suspension and driveline modifications and sway bars and all that kind of stuff to help make the vehicle carry that weight better. But it's still a risk that it's up to the customer to decide if they want to take or not. We're happy to help educate them on how big of a risk it is depending on how heavy the camper is and what the vehicle is and everything, and then how to best mitigate that risk with upgrading components. But it's a risk for everyone to take. I mean, we're luckily in America where we get to choose what we get to do here, and it's up to people to make that decision. I think if it was up to me, everyone would drive a vehicle that was rated to comfortably carry the weight they want to carry. But then half the industry is also kind of upgrading vehicles to help carry more weight. So that's kind of a big part of this whole thing. So I don't know. It's a hard conversation to have with customers all the time.
right?
And you can never give them a guaranteed answer. It's like it's up to you to make the decision.
Yeah. It took me
Yeah.
years to actually understand what that meant.
Yeah.
And how every single thing that I bolted on to a truck
Yeah. adds
affected
up.
that.
Oh yeah.
And it adds
Yeah.
up quick.
But
It's so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the things you bolt on can make it worse or better too. And then
Sure.
where you bolt them on and stuff too. And it's
Yeah.
like a lot of it is people want, like, it kind of ties back into the aesthetic stuff. If people want to just bolt on stuff to bolt on stuff, those rigs get really heavy quickly. Versus if you're building more practical, simple rigs, you have more payload available for things you actually want to use.
PSR.
Yes.
Mm.
I'm gonna
Practical,
what's it called?
simple.
Trademark? Can I
Yeah.
trademark?
You should. Yeah. Trademark it.
Yeah.
PSR.
Yeah.
Basil's
It's almost
Garage.
PBR,
PSR.
PBR. Well, I certainly like PBR.
Yes.
I'm drinking one right now.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to decide what to do with that with customers.
Yeah. Yeah. How are are they pretty receptive when you have that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Just so you know, when we
Yeah.
add this, we're
yeah,
doing this.
and some of them will say, "Oh, I have the wrong truck. Let me sell this truck and buy a bigger truck." And
Right.
It's like, awesome. Thank you
Great.
for making
Yeah.
that decision.
Yeah,
Let's
that
build
makes
you a
my
new
life
bigger
easier.
truck. Sick. And most people are cool with it and
Yeah.
they understand it.
I'm going to shift the topic a little bit more to like the camper side because you're doing a lot of camper stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, you kind of said when we were talking about what are you learning on these trips, you said it's all small stuff in the campers, and
Yeah.
I find that once the basics of the vehicle are fairly well sorted, there's so much fun in figuring out the little stuff inside the living space, right? Like, you know, I've found like a little portable kettle for boiling water
Yeah.
that fits like perfectly in a drawer. Like
Yeah.
how deep do you get into that kind of stuff with advising your clients of like the setup inside?
In the middle.
Yeah.
I'm not a very, I don't know, when I pack my campers, I kind of just pack them. I'm not the kind of person that has like perfect nooks and crannies for all my
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a mix, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone's different with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's a very personal thing.
It is.
Yeah.
But-
And I like the gear and kind of tech side of it. I travel with a rice machine. When I travel like down to Mexico to surf a lot, I pretty much just eat chicken rice the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's rad because I can put a rice in the rice machine and push the button and have it run on the inverter and the power system and everything, and then it will.
Lithium batteries are just so crazy.
They're amazing. Yeah.
Like
But it'll
that
cook you
really
dinner.
has been the
Yeah.
biggest game changer in this industry that is, I mean, everybody's kind of doing it, but it's very
Yeah.
like underrated, I would say. Like,
And it's evolving rapidly.
Yeah.
How small the batteries are getting.
did
for
you
how
see
much
that
power
system
it
I put
has.
in my Grenadier?
I did not.
There's a very small space behind the
And the seats.
Dometic drawer fridge.
Oh, okay.
In the goose gear system that
Okay.
I have. Maybe there's like 7 inches, 6 inches of space,
Yeah.
kind of dead space behind there with a little hatch. I can get I put 100 amp
Oh,
hour
dude, yeah, I
lithium
did see
battery
that.
in
Yeah,
there
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you got to
rad.
think, but that is the, so that the Red Arc Alpha 50, I think I did,
Yep.
the wiring, the GP factor bracket, all of this was 25 pounds. So, like, not that
Yeah.
long ago, that would have been effectively, that's, I'm just going to say 2 batteries, but realistically, maybe it's 3. That's
Yeah, it
2
might have
big
been-
100 amp
Yeah.
hour batteries,
Yeah.
right? Because the depth of discharge for
Yeah, it's
lithium's 100%
Yeah.
usable versus like
50-ish.
50-ish.
Yeah.
So like you're like that standard Optima battery that you kind of like think
Yeah.
of, like that size is like the 70 to 80
Yeah.
AGM amp hours, right?
Yeah.
like
a
100 amp
yeah.
hour AGM battery
It's a big
is
boy.
is
Yeah.
considerable,
Yeah.
and then you would need 2 of those to equal
Yeah.
this little system.
And that would be like 150 pounds batteries. or
Yeah,
something
so you're
ridiculous like
you're
that.
able
Yeah.
to integrate that innovation
Yeah.
into some of these vehicles that have maybe
Yeah.
a smaller GVWR, and that's so cool. And you can have chicken rice on the beach.
Yeah.
We use an instant pot now.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
You know, like I
Yeah.
used to geek out on like,
What's an Instant Pot? I'm familiar with a crock pot.
you don't know what an instant pot is?
I don't
Actually, I've heard of them before. I don't have
Oh,
one.
you don't know what an instant pot is?
We don't even have a microwave in our house. I have like a rice
Oh,
maker
okay.
and an espresso
In-
machine, and that's about it.
It's just like it's an electric pressure cooker.
Oh, okay. We have a pressure
Okay.
cooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an Instapot.
Instant Pot.
Like an electric one, like Ninja makes them, and like a
Yeah.
bunch of companies do. We've actually been
Ninja's one of those crazy companies that I'd never heard of, and then all of a sudden everybody has
Oh,
a
we do have
Ninja
a Ninja
air
cream,
fryer
the
and like
Ninja
a
ice
Ninja
cream
thing, and
machine's
yeah,
sick.
it's like
Yeah, it's really similar, right?
Yeah,
I think
okay.
Instant Pot kind of started it,
Okay.
right? But they make like this small one. It's actually sitting underneath where Sinway is currently sitting.
You might be getting
There's an
pressure
Instant Pot.
pressure cooked.
Yeah, you're in the pressure cooker now. But it doesn't use that much energy.
Yeah.
You have to have the you know the amperage and the wattage
Yeah,
and everything
yeah.
for it, and the inverter. But boy, that stuff's nice.
Yeah, and the campers are evolving rapidly to kind of take advantage of the technology. I know, like, 4-wheel campers just is constantly chasing more lithium, bigger chargers, all that kind of stuff, because their customers are starting to bring more electronics with them. Starlinks, coffee machines, all that stuff. It's cool that the manufacturers are starting to do that, and then we also do like full custom systems for
Yeah.
customers all the time.
Yeah, I've seen you do some like crazy like Red Arc
Yeah.
manager
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy building it. That's like kind of something that hurts most people's brains, and it's cool to build it. I learned a lot of that from my good friend Matt, who owns Off Grid 4x4 in Colorado. He used to build dual battery kits for the Toyota trucks, and I actually worked for him for a while, and that's kind of where I...
I remember that.
Yeah, that's actually what kind of sparked me working in a shop. That was the first shop that I worked in like a professional setting, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And
Yeah.
then eventually the shop opened up in San Diego and everything.
Yeah.
But that's where I learned a lot of the like electronics design from and how to build it cleanly and everything. But it's impressive what you can do with systems. Like trucks have air conditioning for the like cabins now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
A little excessive, but it's cool.
It's nice in the desert.
It can be.
You
I
know-
usually tell people to travel where it's not hot.
Right.
If you're
Yeah,
in a
that's-
vehicle that
that's-
moves,
that's
just
the-
go to the mountains. I don't know. Yeah.
That's the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but these 12 volt air conditioning systems are, you know, they're basically taking components from like electric vehicles, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And boy, they can be quite efficient
Yeah.
and quite powerful. I'm going to eventually upgrade.
They
Great
pull
one.
like 40 to 50 amps, the ones I've seen, which
Yeah.
will nuke your 1200 amp hour lithium battery bank in not that much time. That's how much you have. I saw it on the screen, right?
Yeah, it's 1200.
I'm a nerd.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of, that's what.
Yeah, it's enough to cool the space down before you go to bed. That's the
As
best way
we
to
as we
explain it,
have
I think.
shown,
Yeah.
I'm not very good with math right now. But
Yeah.
what's
1,000 times
that's
50.
20
That's
that's
easy.
24 hours.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, but then you're also running lights and your Starlink and your fan and your fridge and your coffee machine and all that
It
other
is.
stuff. and your
TV,
iPad to watch
and
TV.
it's probably his massaging bed.
Yeah.
I do have an iPad to watch 90s sitcoms to fall asleep to.
He likes Frasier.
Frasier is my jam.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. What's the last thing you'd like to leave people with?
I don't know. Build vehicles to travel.
Yeah.
Don't build them to look cool. Don't build them to post online. Build them to go, like, spend time with friends and family in the woods or on the beach or wherever else you like to go.
Practical, simple, reliable.
Yep. Yeah. As we sit at Overland,
PSR.
surrounded by crazy vehicles.
Look at you with your taglines being all creative over there.
Yeah.
Well,
I love it. I mean, that's next. Like it's simplified. It's the ethos of
Yeah.
how things
Add
should
that
be
to our
built.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practical, simple, reliable.
Yeah.
Basil's Garage.
Yeah.
well, we love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad that you not only run a great shop in this industry, but you also still make the time to get out and actually use these products so you know how to advise people. And I think that that's a really cool thing to highlight.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to see your journey over the last 10 years from being an FJ Cruiser dude to actually knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being an FJ Cruiser, dude.
They're cute cars, Matt.
They're cute, and mom
Mama
advised.
Okay, yeah. Because your mom said it was cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for listening to the Overland Journal podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Tune in next week, same time, same channel.
Sure.